brother who has been seriously reconnecting and doing it in a place where there are a myriad of problems. And he refused to move up into the hills, and he stayed in the valley, in his neighborhood and in our community, building the Black Family Life Center, maintaining his position at San Francisco State in Black Studies, alongside brothers like Dr. Obata Chaka, and maintaining his work in the field of African consciousness, working with the Melanin Consortium as they opened up the first Melanin Conference in San Francisco, working with the Association for the Study of Classical African Civilizations, working with the National Council of Black Studies. He was with me, Rosalind, and others in Ghana last year. And this year, his profession that he has chosen, psychology, his brothers and sisters, his African support system, has crowned him their chief pharaoh, their Nana, the president of the Association of Black Social Workers, Black Psychologists. And I present you my brother, my partner, doing yeoman work with the Hawk program and McClymonds Center, yeoman work, Dr. Brother Wade Nobles, the husband of Vera Nobles.
The best part of what my brother said about me is that I am Vera's husband. You may not really understand how significant that is because we don't understand what makes us human. And what I hope to do this evening is talk about what makes us human in the context of education. Before I do that, you all know I must ask you all to allow me to assume a posture of reverence and respect while I give praise and credit to the source of all knowledge and all truth. And I do that by saying out loud that the Almighty, who is sometimes called Amun, and is sometimes called Aset, and is sometimes called Ptah, and is sometimes called Sheshat, and is sometimes called Jehovah, and is sometimes called Obatula, and is sometimes called the Christ, and is sometimes called Oshun, and is sometimes called Shango, and is sometimes called Allah, and is sometimes called Oya, and is sometimes called Olutumari, and is sometimes called Atum, that Almighty God, Amun, Ptah, Ra, although hidden, is the source of all knowledge, all truth, and all wisdom. And I pray in what I share with you this evening that Amun, Tehuti, Orumila will be satisfied. I am supposed to, through protocol, bring you greetings from the National Association of Black Psychologists that I have the honor of leading as their national president, from the Department of Black Studies and the School of Ethnic Studies at San Francisco State University, and from the Institute for the Advanced Study of Black Family Life and Culture. And I bring you greetings from these places because these are the places, with the addition of ASCAC, that has nurtured the thinking that I believe is going to be critical in the liberation of the African mind. I am not going to talk to you about the battles that are happening in California under the guise of the initiatives that are looking at how do we begin to talk about as a policy question African-centered education for the state of California. That is something that is an interesting battle, but it's one that I have decided not to talk about tonight because it really is a political battle that has to do with policies and strategies, and those are issues that we need to talk about in another kind of session. Strategies and tactics are not public forum information. I'm not going to talk about the McClymonds project, even though I think that is an exciting endeavor, and that we have been able to have a school district in California to designate an entire high school as a place that is predominantly serviced by the black community, to be a school that is designed to be a science, culture, and technology high school with an African-centered foundation. And I think it's exciting that we're able to marry Afrocentricity with science and technology in the service of educating black children. I don't want to talk about that this evening because I think that that's also an important experiment and an important project. But what's more important is for us to look at this question that I've been given in terms of my topic, multiculturalism and African-centered education, the meaning for Africans. And I want to put that aside very quickly because I think that the discussion about multiculturalism is one that can be handled easily. It doesn't exist. We don't need to talk about it. We don't need to talk about it other than to say that in a free and open society, multiculturalism should be the foundation of good education. End of question. We don't have a free and open society. We have a society that has seen fit to its own understanding to talk about the destruction of African people, and therefore Africans to talk about multicultural society is testament to the kind of insanity that you all need to have black psychologists address. So I will go on record. If you talk about multicultural education in a non-free and open society, then that's an indicator of pathology, and that we need to really talk a different way of looking at it. I have suggested that in my own work that the question for us that's so critical and that frightens me almost daily is the issue of us having intellectual clarity that guides our struggle. And too often I think, and it may be just my problem, but too often I believe that our struggles end up failing because we haven't taken the time to struggle with the intellect before we struggle with the conflict. And because we don't do that, we end up losing a great deal more than what we should lose. In my work, I've argued that power is the ability to define reality and to have other people respond to your definition as if it were their own. That's an important definition in and of itself. Power is the ability to define reality. And I would suggest to you this evening that the most important reality to define is the meaning of our own human beingness. No other reality is important to define than how we define what it is to be a human being. All the systems that we create, educational systems, family systems, political systems, military systems, social systems, psychological systems, all the systems that we create, if we don't first take authority for defining the meaning of our own human beingness, then all those other systems will not serve us well. And education is prime example of not serving it well. When I was asked to talk about multiculturalism by Brother Lionel, I told him I don't know if I wanted to do that, that I thought it was easy. I mean, it takes a minute to do that. It doesn't exist. Go back to California. And I didn't want to come all the way here and just say that and go back to California. And so I sent him another topic that I thought I wanted to talk about, and I want to use that as a way of looking at this question of intellectual clarity. I thought that it would be important to give myself an opportunity to talk about the Maafaa, or the Black Holocaust, African-centered education, or multiculturalism, a quest for clarity and truth. And I want to use this notion of the Maafaa as a way of talking about clarity, because the issue of what happens to us and what we determine to happen to us has to be driven by clarity, has to be driven by truth. And for a long time, we have taken the strategy as intellectuals of simply putting black in front of it and saying that is our fundamental, essential theorizing. That's the best that we could do. We took black and put it in front of it. So whether it was Marxism, we put black in front of it and say we can do that. If it's socialism, we put black in front of it and say we can do that. We even take this notion of our atrocity and put black in front of it and say that that represents our issue. We did not experience a Holocaust. We did not experience a black Holocaust. Other folk have had a Holocaust, and it is in fact a tragedy that they experienced. But our tears cannot be shed for someone else's tragedy. But more importantly, we cannot put our experience in someone else's paradigm and call it black and make it our tragedy. Remember Ani. Marimba Ani serves our community well when she suggests in her analyses that the Maafaa is better as a concept for representing what in fact happened to African people. It is not a black Holocaust. The Maafaa, according to Marimba, is a great disaster of misfortune, of death and destruction beyond human comprehension and convention. Now you need to hold on to that notion. Experiencing a system of death and destruction beyond human comprehension and convention. A Holocaust literally comes from the Greek meaning holocaustos, to burn whole. And because some folk got mad at their own relatives and decided as a political strategy to burn them up whole, is their family business. That ain't none of our business. We are not guilty of it. We are not responsible for it. We don't have to worry about it. They should take care of that issue. Our experience from our own authentic voice is to recognize that we experience a system of death and destruction that was beyond human comprehension and convention, and what made it beyond human comprehension and convention is that the Maafaa, requires the denial of the validity of the humanity of the African. Let me say that again because that's an important point. The Maafaa requires the denial of the validity of the humanity of the African. Some Africans get up and start talking about some Afrocentric education. The response that is required is that you must be in opposition to that because you must deny the humanity of the African. And only human beings recognize that their divine responsibility is to reproduce and refine the best of themselves. That's what education is. Education is a process by which we reproduce and refine the best of ourselves. And so by Africans saying we want an African-centered education, where we center the development of African people in an African understanding of the world, that read too much